Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome back into another podcast by George. Update. This is an update on a previous podcast by George, which has proven to be very popular. It's got shared and passed around a lot on the Democratic and progressive websites in particular. And it's all part of this effort put forth by Jimmy Dore, believe it or not, the very popular podcaster, to try to get a Medicare for all vote on the U.S. House of Representatives floor in exchange for Democratic and progressive representatives supporting the speakership of Nancy Pelosi, which is coming up for a vote. They need a majority vote in the House for Pelosi to become speaker again. So that's kind of the background on it. But let me kind of give you the background on Medicare for all. My God, it's a long one. People don't believe this. They've been talking about this since Roosevelt, really, and certainly since Truman. And one of my favorite clips that I've had on the podcast before that I've shared with folks is of John F. Kennedy. Yeah, talking about Medicare for all. Now, as you may know, the U.S. is the only first world industrialized nation on the globe that doesn't provide its citizenry with Medicare for all. In the meantime, we've got 1,000 military bases surrounding every country, friend and foe. We're currently involved in 7, count them, 7 known and announced wars, maybe others that are secret wars, as Matthew Ho delineated on the podcast here recently. But we can't do Medicare for all for some reason. Let's check out JFK. I love this clip. Watch this.
The fact of the matter is that what we are now talking about doing, most of the countries of Europe did years ago. The British did it 30 years ago. We are behind every country pretty nearly in Europe in this matter of medical care for our citizens. And then those who say that this should be left to private effort. In those hospitals in New Jersey where the doctors said they wouldn't treat anyone, who paid their hospital bills through Social Security, those hospitals and every other new hospital, the American people, all of us, contribute 1/2, 1 or 2/3 for every new hospital, the national government. We pay 55% of all the research done. We help young men become doctors. We are concerned with the progress of this country. And those who say that what we are now talking about spoils our great pioneer heritage should remember that the West was settled with 2 great actions by the national government. One, in President Lincoln's administration, when he gave a homestead to everyone who went west, and in 1862 he set aside government property to build our land-grant colleges. This cooperation between an alert and progressive citizenry and a progressive government is what has made this country great, and we shall continue as long as we have the opportunity to do so.
My God, you got to love JFK. I mean, particularly given the era. That was the early 60s, for God's sake. It shows you just how little we've gotten since then. And he's talking about the progressive movement in particular. It's a great series of clips. You can see it on YouTube. But as you know, we just had an election. The progressives got nothing. We got shut out, basically, with the exception of some, marijuana referendums around the country. But we got no Green New Deal out of this thing. We got no end to the endless wars, particularly when you look at who Biden is putting in his cabinet. And, of course, we got no Medicare for all. And we're told that we can't afford it. We just gave $5 trillion via the CARES Act to the top 1% in the United States of America, but we can't afford Medicare for all, a system that would actually save citizens and the government money compared to our current healthcare system. I mean, it's been proven. So we got $1,200 unemployment out of the CARES Act and some unemployment extension, $1,200 direct payment and some unemployment extension, which AOC herself said it was nothing but crumbs. And then, of course, she voted for it. And you've heard me complain a lot about that. And then I get criticism. Really, podcasters do a lot. It's like, okay, you bitch, you complain, but you don't really have any solutions. Well, Jimmy Dore's got a solution, and it's to get Medicare for all a vote finally on the floor of the House of Representatives. Medicare for All is supported by Democrats, certainly, by all Americans, actually, going all the way back to JFK, as you saw in that film clip. And so, as you saw on my earlier program, I encouraged everybody to contact the co-chairs, Jayapal and Pocan, in the Progressive Caucus of the House to threaten to not support the speakership of Nancy Pelosi unless she promises in public, none of this backdoor stuff, that she will bring Medicare for All finally to a floor vote in the House, which she has refused to do. Well, this is such a good idea, and it's finally got enough legs that it's getting out and about. It was on the Thom Hartmann show. I know a lot of my viewers watch Thom Hartmann. My wife does. She's a devotee. And Mark Pocan was on there. This guy's co-chair of the Progressive Caucus, folks. And you got to watch this because it goes to this point that I make all the time. Are they too dumb or are they in on it? The progressives now have leverage because you only need 15 votes. That's what separates the Democrats from the Republicans on a majority basis. The Democrats have a 15-vote majority, so if half of those threaten to vote with the Republicans, you can see the vote would be less, particularly if some people can't vote in COVID and all that. But here's what Pocan says. Now, you want to see gaslighting? Watch this.
15 votes doesn't even make sense. I don't know where that number comes from. It just shows me, again, someone who doesn't have maybe a great strategy going.
What? He doesn't understand the 15-vote majority in the House of Representatives and the fact that it's a majority vote that Nancy Pelosi needs to get the speakership back here after the first of the year. Damn straight he knows that. He knows all about that. So he's playing dumb for a reason. And that's Mark Pocan of Wisconsin. That is bullshit. That is obfuscating. That is gaslighting. Okay, so Pocan, next up, he does what I've heard Pelosi do, which you'll hear your representatives do a lot. They'll tell you that the House of Representatives basically can't do anything. It's the people's house. They've got to have public opinion. Have you ever seen public opinion polls when it comes to Medicare for all? My God, Fox viewers support Medicare for all. But here's Mark Pocan playing the public opinion card.
Are not enough supporters when you have a 4 or 5 seat margin. So we have some more work to do to get public opinion.
All right, so there he goes. We got to have public opinion. Let me put this graphic up, folks. This is a Reuters public opinion poll. Look at these numbers. How much more public opinion do you need before you take action? And now watch him play the Republican Senate card. That's the other part of this. The House can't do anything because the Republicans control the Senate, so therefore we should just throw up our hands, acquiesce, and sit here and do nothing but fight amongst each other on a partisan political basis. Listen to him play that card.
Have Mitch McConnell in the Senate, so what do you really get out of that?
What? I mean, it's hard to believe. What do you get? The guy's the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. You get Medicare for All, which is a linchpin of the progressive movement, onto the House floor for a vote. Moreover, the people that voted for Mark Pocan and all of the other Democrats, but certainly the progressives, they all support Medicare for All. Look at those numbers again on this graphic. There's no doubt about it. That's what you get. Plus, you got to start somewhere. You get the ball rolling. You get a House vote. And here's the other thing that you get. Here's the other thing that you need. You need health care for Americans in a pandemic, certainly. I don't know, if worse comes to worse, just go and do it on an emergency basis during the course of the pandemic. Once it's initiated, once it's in place, once people find out that it saves money and how easy it is to use, then you have an opportunity to keep the thing rolling and perhaps make it a part of the American societal fabric. That's what you get from Medicare for All. Plus, and I'm sure a lot of you viewers are like this also. I know I am. I got a friend that's dead, buried, and in the ground because she couldn't get the health care she needed to save her life. This is a life and death issue. I can't believe that he would say, what does that get? And those kind of comments are really insult to injury because, again, he's co-chair of the Progressive Caucus, and the Progressives got nothing. Here's an opportunity to actually exercise some leverage. They've got leverage. They can actually get something now because of that small margin that supports the majority from the minority in the House of Representatives for Nancy Pelosi's speakership. And she's not going to bring Medicare for all to the House floor. She's going to have to be forced to do it and needs to get her response or her promise on record. And the progressives can do that. And this would be a great thing. Oh my God, the House, you know this, they lost seats during a Trump presidency. That's how little that we've gotten. Forget about the progressives. The Democrats lost seats in the House with Trump in the White House. Well, anyway, I'm going to put this graphic up. This is the contact information. This is for Mark Pocan's office. Give this dude a call and tell him you're seeing through this. Ask him if he's too dumb or if he's in on it. And call his Washington office and tell him that you want him to join with, it could just take as few as a half dozen progressives. You heard him say maybe even one, hell, maybe just him when it comes time to actually vote on the thing, that he will not support the speakership of Nancy Pelosi unless she agrees, finally, to bring Medicare for all to the floor of the House for a vote. My God, John F. Kennedy is still waiting for it, and so are the rest of us. Well, folks, that's just a quick update on that last episode, and I hope you subscribe to us on, well, here's what you do. Go to podcastbygeorge.com, and the little badges are there, and you can subscribe on whatever platform you like. Rather than go to YouTube and try to search it and find it and that type of thing, just go to podcastbygeorge.com, click on the icon, subscribe there. But that's going to do it for today. That's going to wrap it up. That's all there is. There ain't no more. That's another podcast by George.